According to ABSL report from 2022, the growth in the industry was greater than expected. 130 new jobs were created daily, with an average of 75 highly specialized jobs. So already over 400,000 people works for the sector in more than 1,700 service centers around Poland. The estimated share of the sector in GDP is 4.4%. Today, my guests are Janusz Dziurzyński, President of ABSL, and Dariusz Kubacki, ABSL Vice President, Business Intelligence. Good morning.
Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Well, very broad topic, the sector that is really highlighted and shines on the map of the Polish industries. So let's focus on the future of the sector, because this is probably something that is the most interesting for our readers. But before that, I would also like to ask you about the shape of the service sector in the upcoming years. You know, what's the competition? Who are we competing with? Of course, obviously, the sector was growing rapidly, even in the pandemic times where most of the other sectors were noticing decline. So how would you say where we are in the services sector currently?
First of all, indeed, very broad topic, very successful area. We can be extremely proud of what the country, what all the people in the sector have achieved and are achieving. The future, I would say the future is bright. Even when this same question was asked 2 years ago, 3 years ago, pre-pandemic, everybody was super optimistic, and then the COVID hit. I think the sector showed its reliance, it showed resistance, and the fact that, ironically, if the times are getting tougher, for this kind of transformations, for this kind of help for the core businesses that choose to rely on business shared services, these are good times. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, we have proven a couple of things. We have proven the fact that we can work remotely. From one day to another, 80% of jobs were continued without any glitch, any delay, any problem, which if we wouldn't try or we wouldn't be forced to, we probably wouldn't believe. But it happened. It's true. Mm-hmm. And then the sector showed, as I'm sure Darek will share some statistics, has dramatically grown, substantially grown over the last 2-3 years, which is super optimistic. So frankly speaking, we stabilize, we move forward. Times are tough. Pressure on costs is huge. Mm-hmm. And the need for digital transformation is probably more important and more relevant than ever. So I strongly believe, and we have numbers and facts to prove that we will continue double-digit growth.
And you are right, the sector grew in terms of numbers meaning employees who are employed by the sector. And last year we reached this important milestone of 400,000 employees working in the sector, and probably around 700,000-800,000, including those who are supporting the sector in the whole economy. That's a big number. The next milestone is probably 500,000, so 500,000. And we are looking optimistically, as Janusz mentioned, that it will be reached within the next couple of years. But what is more important, it is the structure of this growth, because it's not only about employees and the number of employees, but also the roles and the importance of these roles for the global companies which are locating their jobs. And we also reported that last year, for the first time, we exceeded the percentage of 50% of jobs in the sector, which we classify as highly knowledge intensive. So those which require longer training, longer preparation, higher education, but also those which are making much bigger impact on the business for the companies which located these jobs in Poland. And this is the foundation for growth. So this growth is not only numbers, but also in terms of importance, and also they are much more interesting for employees who are in the sector.
And probably it's worth to add that this sector is very international, which means that, something we talk in general on all economic forums in Poland, that we would like to attract talents. It's something that is actually happening in the sector, right?
Exactly, and more than 90% of the companies in the sector, they employ foreigners. So that's quite a big share. And these days, I think it's 14-15%. All employees who are in the sector are foreigners. They are not Polish employees. In all centers, practically in all centers, English is the first language. And now more than 20 companies, they also started hiring abroad. So looking for talents not only in Poland, but also outside, attracting people to move to Poland or stay where they are and working for Polish centers. So centers are becoming a bit of hubs to which employees are attached, not necessarily sitting and physically working in the location.
And just to be very specific, I want to throw in an example. The example is the company I work for, and I built the hub here in Warsaw. We have almost 300 people. Within that 300 people, we have 28 nationalities. It's not a mistake, 28 nationalities speaking 24 languages. And this is, in the sector, it's a little bit of a norm. So your question is spot on, but this question is something that this is the reality we live and breathe every day. So the sector is super diverse, very inclusive, and extremely international in a positive sense.
Yes, that's absolutely something that all other sectors could learn from, attracting talent. I think that's the key message for the Polish economy in general. So really respect for that in the sector of shared services. You mentioned already digital transformation, but I would like to ask what other trends can have an impact on the development of the sector in 2023 and beyond, maybe?
The processes are getting more integrated. The supply chains getting shorter, and the necessity of data and analytics is consistently increasing over years. I'm not discovering America here. Of course, this is the trend that we observe for many, many years. What Darek mentioned with the knowledge-intense work increasing as a percentage of all the jobs really paints the story. So we are seeing a disproportionate growth of this high value added processes and jobs that are being explored or continue to grow. Again, example, the supply chain planning from raw and pack materials, I'm talking FMCG companies, from raw and pack materials to manufacturing, warehousing, shipping, and then tracking, reporting, and entire logistics part from the supply chain. The roles that are using the jobs and the functions that are using advanced methodologies, IT competencies, and tools to plan and kind of foresee and proactively monitor, as well as use the sophisticated algorithms to model this thing, especially in the current difficulties of the supply chains being very frequently broken. This is extremely important, critical for the work of many companies that are moving physical products. And I think this is a very strong example of the jobs that are disproportionately growing. We could do more. We could provide many more examples. The data and analytics, so the people who create insights based on the data and observing the big data was a big trend many years ago. It still is. But in fact, it's only the tool for people to take decisions, and for that decisions, insights to be generated. These are, I just provided two examples. I think we could continue. The cybersecurity, a completely different example from completely other spectrum, something which our sector in Poland is very strong in, and we see over years more and more advanced cybersecurity and intelligence work being moved here. Also in the banking system, very, very important.
And banking system in general, I think it's
banking
very
system
strong.
in general, indeed.
I agree with everything what Janusz said. Digitalization and technology, that's the trend. And this is the trend not only for the companies which are IT companies, which have the centers in Poland, but also the companies which operate and provide services to the other sectors. So the foundation is becoming exactly based on digitalization and technology and ability of our people, our employees to change and transform the core business into more digital, more efficient. So that's the value added which is being provided out of the centers in Poland. So that's definitely the trend.
I would say that even once I had a chance to had an interview with one of the financial institutions that have a shared services sector here in Poland, and actually they said that they are a technology company. They didn't name themselves anymore actually a financial because of the processes that they are actually operating. And yes, it's true that they have, I think, in cybersecurity or anti-money laundering, they have like the hub here in Poland for whole of the world. So that's That's really
very true.
But actually, can you name which segment of the shared service sector is the one that is the most advanced or the most rapidly growing in Poland?
The biggest one is IT services. It's 45% of all the services which are provided, and more than 20% of the new investments, they come from IT. So we are becoming a global hub for IT mainly, and financial processes, F&A, that's banking, insurance, that's the second one. But I think IT is the biggest one.
Yeah, totally. And in fact, I mean, there are two kind of phenomena worth to mention here. On one hand side, companies are more and more digital savvy, and everybody uses more and more technology rather than less and less technology. So by definition, this is the trend from the industry at large. So that's one thing. And this is no surprise, shouldn't be surprised that because of that, the structure of the sector is even more skewed towards technology. The second point is placed to our huge advantage. Historically and over years, our country has been perceived, and rightly so, as the source of excellent IT talent. It was true in the 90s. It was true at the beginning of the century. It is definitely true today. So the structure of our education and the percentage of people who are highly advanced IT professionals, starting with programmers, but this is only the beginning of the pyramid, and again, then going up with the contribution and realization of the value, basically speaking. This is our huge advantage. So these two circumstances or these two phenomena help us tremendously.
I think, Janusz, it's worth to mention also that this year in ABSL is the year of technology.
That's true. Yeah.
So we put much more effort in our studies, in our research, also to measure what this technology is, how it is used, and how it changes not only the centers, but as I mentioned before, also the core business of the company. So that's the year of the technology, just like the previous year was the year of talent.
Yeah.
And they come together because we are able to develop technology and go in this way, because we have talent and because also we have a certain maturity in our sector that can develop this talent, because it's not like we are only acquiring and bringing this talent from universities or the other companies, but many companies, they also have incubators and they gain ability how to develop the talent also in the digital aspect. So that's important thing.
I think you actually tackled very important issue, yeah, because I would also like to ask about the general landscape in Europe, and also another trend which seems to be visible in terms of diversification of business portfolio or locations around the world or Europe. And here, to get to the point where we are with the shared service sector in Poland, I think it was a long way, and also that required creating the whole ecosystem, which also includes academics, universities, and all of that. So how does it play in terms of maybe some diversification of the portfolio of the current investors here in Poland when looking on Europe compared to other countries? How would you say it looks like Poland compared to other countries?
I think the most important starting point is the fact that our country is by far number one player in Europe. Which tells the story. We have a very strong position, and we are, depending on which analysis, which source you listen to, we are either number 3, 4, or 5 in the world, which is absolute phenomenon. I mean, when we started with ABSL 12, 13 years ago, it was unbelievable, super ambitious dream. At that point of time, even if the highest optimist would never project what happened. So we have a very, very strong position. So that's point number one. Point number two, yes, there are many areas and many places that want to attract similar businesses. This is really real investments. We exported the worth of export of last year from ABSL is almost $27 billion. I mean, we are talking real money. And the surplus of the export over the actual cost and import is huge. So it's extremely good thing for economy, extremely good for all aspects, and it's a huge return on investment for the investors. So it's a wonderful story. So no surprise, everybody wants the good story.
Of course.
The advantages that we have are number. We mentioned a couple of them, but I think if you look at the population of Poland, unfortunately, it's shrinking as from everything we know, but it's shrinking pretty much everywhere. The structure of our education, the fact that every single year we have more than 1.1 million students in various universities, not in key in very few cities. No, it's across the country. That gives also advantage. We do not have one mega city and then satellites around. No, we have 7, 9 big cities with very strong universities, very good academic, and we are producing, talking not nicely, right? We are producing lots of excellent new people who enter the market and for whom there is an employment, very attractive employment in the sector that is growing. It's a wonderful mechanism that doesn't exist in many places. So this is our huge advantage, and we should be, of course, we should be proud of this, and we are, but we should nurture it. That's probably even more important. It's a competition. If somebody will not place his or her investment here, they will go somewhere else. In our most interest is the fact that companies that are here see the value and they reinvest, and the newcomers who consider other locations are looking at us very, very seriously. So far, we are, as Darek mentioned, we are growing, and this. And very importantly, the higher value-add jobs, more sophisticated jobs, are much more difficult to move. They are much more person-reliant and people-reliant. And if these people are here and they want to be here, this also speaks to our advantage.
And there is also company perspective. And from company perspective, quite often it's not competition, it is more cooperation, which is in place. And COVID and a few other crises, which we had recently, proved that it might be quite dangerous for business continuity to locate and place all critical services in one place. And then there is expectation that this network of the centers will be established, for example, within European Union. And then Poland, with the size, with the maturity and the place where we are today, is in the best place to be in a driver position and the leading position within Europe. So now it's becoming more European environment than Polish environment, and we have also the role to play to strengthen the overall business of the company. So, and we are ready to take it. And there are many companies, many global companies in Poland who started in Poland this kind of business model and expanded this to Europe, with Poland being in a central point of this network.
And as you once mentioned, it's much more easy to scale up than doing something from scratch, right? So that's also an argument. Okay, you also published a report and you focused a lot on innovations. Innovations is another keyword that, everyone would like to tackle. So next to talents, innovations. But in your sector, again, this innovations is really, proved by projects, by the way how companies operate in Poland. So what's the next step in terms of the innovations, and how does the landscape in terms of embracing innovations in Polish business services sector look like?
We, in our report, we ask member companies and sector companies what is the declared innovation level, and declaration is like it's almost 3 times higher than in average in the economy, which Statistical Office reports. So that's good. That means that the companies see themselves to be innovative, and they introduce a lot of innovation. Innovation is also expected from the mother companies. So that's also expectation, and with the talent which we have and the profiles, very educated, highly educated employees, it is quite natural that these companies become innovative. Many companies, they also established R&D, research and development centers. So it's 25% of companies who we have in our sector, they have already R&D, and R&D by definition, it is the incubator of innovation. So innovation is there, it is expected, and I think it's also proved.
Yes, absolutely. Although to be even more specific, because of the variety and diversity of the processes that are operated from here. Darek mentioned IT, finance, but it's procurement, it's cybersecurity. The list is endless. Yeah, exactly. So because of that, we have not only obligation, but we have a natural environment in which we should make sure that these individual capabilities talk to each other. And once we have different functions and different processes that we run from here, for the global companies, it's very natural to expect from these people to start to find synergies, be able to connect the dots and come up with something new. Example, unbelievable amount of data to authorities. At the same time, you have data and analytics who is sitting next to them, and you have big data people, and you have cloud experts. Now, naturally, when you look at these things, there are synergies, and you we have to think about how we can connect the dots and bring the extra value, not only to optimize the process itself, but innovate to find synergies that are not so obvious to find. We call it a value add from the fact that you put number of shared services processes in one location. People have natural opportunity to think bigger and think new. So this is why majority of the innovations, significant majority of innovations, will come from improving and reinventing existing ways of working and existing business processes using technology, of course. So this is something which is more and more important, and this is something we are doing better and better.
And in that context, innovation is a big symptom of something what is happening, because when I observed the journey of many companies who located or who were deciding about locating a new service center in Poland, they always picked one thing and said, okay, we want to have software development. And they started with software development for a year or two. They built a team, they observed, they were happy, and they started adding additional and centralizing additional functions. And now those functions are sitting together on the same floor in the same building and just talking. And innovation is about doing the same but in a different way, and they are inspiring themselves, and that works. So sometimes it's not intended. Sometimes it's just the outcome of the work.
But being ahead of the curve, we should be smart enough. We should be smart to expect this from our people. And we as leaders and the people who are in charge of these centers, over 1,700 of them right now, this is the future. And if we want to, it's not about delivering the expectations, it's about delighting people who decide to invest their money here. And this is a positively inclined spiral. This is what we want to create. Easier said than done.
Yeah, well, you mentioned in your report that actually, now the challenge, the next step to go to the next level is moving from initiator to creator, yes? So
Absolutely. And this is exactly what we mean by that.
I can understand, but I also know from other sectors that sometimes, you do really amazing things, like we can say that the sector is proving, but then it's not really obvious that people from outside of Poland can hear about it. And I think that your advantage is that you also put a lot of effort into promote all of those good practices and promote the sector abroad, which I think is also a game changer in terms of your position globally.
Oh yeah, totally right. Couldn't agree more. This is something many of us do not have in our DNA, but we should, because as somebody mentioned many years ago to me, and I definitely experienced this is true. The proper communication, the proper way of talking. I'm not talking advertising, right? I'm talking about making people realize of what is being created, boosting adoption, and thriving on quality communication of what you are doing is approximately 30% of the actual value that you create. It sounds a lot, but in fact, if you have a great product, but if you don't talk about this, you don't teach people how to use it, you don't listen to the feedback, you don't take care about the user interface and user experience, and it goes across the board. This is not only about physical product, but the solution that you use on a daily basis when you log in and you try to do certain things, when you try to do your work. If you don't do these things, you lose potentially even more than 30%. So you touch a very, very important element. And frankly speaking, I do believe we have made a great progress, but I still believe there is a long way for us to go to how to talk about this, how to educate, and how to I will say that, how to advertise great work that we are doing.
And we discuss many things here which are making sector and the companies, the centers which are in Poland, to be closer and closer to the business. And the next step is to become the core business of the companies, right? So, and the companies, because of success of these models, they are changing the whole business models and putting the centers and the services provided out of the centers closer and closer to the business. So when we are in the core of the business, then it will be a creator. That's actually the point.
And I would add on top of this one additional element, because of the fact that a lot of those companies are foreign companies, and you as an ABSL, you created such a great community. You really have also great ambassadors who can really spread the message across the world, right?
And we are practitioners. We all work in the sector. We all manage different companies in the sector as ABSL, strategic board members, and the other who are involved into this. So it's a group of practitioners who run this business on a daily basis.
Really amazing story, success story that, we shouldn't be too humble to talk about it, definitely. So good luck. I can only add on top of this that I wish all other sectors to have such a great story and to learn from your practices and how to really encourage and, attract investors from abroad, but also focus on the element of proper communication outside. That absolutely I agree that we can then achieve much more than expected. Thank you very much for the discussion.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.